What's up guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I smoke meat using a charcoal grill. Let's get into it. So for the first step, you're going to grab a metal grate. You're going to cover half of it in aluminum foil. And if you don't have a metal grate, that's fine. Any piece of metal will work that can withstand high temperatures. Once the metal grate is laid down, it's time to make the divider. And I do this by taking a piece of aluminum foil, folding over one end, and stuffing that end into the aluminum foil covering the metal grate. And you don't have to, but I like to take that aluminum foil divider and rewrap it in another layer of aluminum foil just to make sure it's sturdy. And with this method, you'll definitely be using a good amount of aluminum foil, which probably isn't the healthiest thing for you. However, this method is for those who smoke meat every once in a while. So if you plan on smoking meat on a regular basis, I would suggest getting a smoker. And once the charcoal is added, it's time to make the fire starters. And if you have fire starters that you've already bought and you'd rather use those, you can skip this part of the video. And I actually have fire starters, but I like this method a lot better because the surface area of the fire is a lot bigger. And all you have to do is take 2 pieces of paper towel and cover them in oil. I used olive oil. Then you place them on the charcoal side of the grill. And I recommend putting the pieces of paper towel under a few of the coals because in my experience, it just helps the coals get hot a lot quicker. But if you don't want to get your hands dirty and you have a few extra minutes, you can just place the pieces of paper towel on top of the coals and light it. And when you bring your grill outside to light, I suggest lighting the pieces of paper towel one corner at a time because that flame will start to move to the middle of the paper towels and will immediately heat up those coals that you put on top. And after the coals are lit, just wait about 15 minutes and your grill should be ready. And during that 15 minutes when the coals are heating up, that's when I like to prep my meat. Now I chose to use chicken wings for this cook, but any piece of meat or food that you wish to smoke will work exceptionally well with this method. And as for the seasoning on the wings, I just use olive oil as a binder and throw on some salt, black pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, cayenne pepper, and white pepper. Gave that all a good toss. Then I set it aside while I got out my wood. And I chose a bunch of cherry wood chunks because I figured cherry wood would go perfect with the chicken. And I would recommend using wood chunks over wood chips, but wood chips will work fine with this method as well. And once the grill starts smoking, you know it's ready to put on your meat. And the meat goes on the grill opposite the coal side. And it's extremely important that you keep all the vents on your grill open while you're smoking your meat because the airflow will keep the coals hot. And at about 15 minutes in, the chicken started to develop a little bit of color from the smoke, but not too much. But at around 30 minutes, you can definitely notice the change in color on the wings from that smoke. And at around 45 minutes, it was time to flip the wings over so the bottom of the wings can get a nice color as well. And you don't have to flip your meat over. I just like to get a nice consistent color on both sides, but your meat will be perfectly fine if you don't flip it. And at around an hour and 15 minutes, the wings were almost done. They just needed a bit more color. And after about 15 minutes, the chicken was ready for a quick sear on the coal side. And you definitely don't have to sear your chicken or whatever meat you're cooking. You could just let it smoke all the way through. And depending on what meat you're cooking, especially if it's something like a prime rib, I would definitely recommend smoking it all the way through and not putting it on the coal side. But as for my chicken, I definitely like a little bit of char on my wings mixed with that smoky flavor. And I would recommend flipping whatever meat you're using every 30 to 45 seconds because once those juices and that excess oil starts hitting the coals, it's going to create a pretty big flame. And once you're done with the meat on the grill, it's not only important that you close the grill, but close all the vents on the grill as well so those coals can die out. And as for my chicken, I got a bowl and some bone marrow compound butter. Threw a few pieces of the compound butter in the bowl, mix it with some sauce and set that aside. And next it was time to get the chicken, and I definitely wanted to taste it by itself to see how smoky it was. And as you can see, the wings definitely had a nice color and char on the outside, but as some of you may know, when smoking meat, the inside is what really matters. And after slicing these open, I was definitely very satisfied. The meat on the wings had a nice red, almost pink color from the cherry wood chunks, and I had to explain to my friends several times that the pink you see on the meat comes from the smoke and is not raw meat. And next, all that was left to do was toss the wings in that buttery sauce and eat. And if you've made it to this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of this method for smoking meat in the comments. And if you use this method for your meat, please let me know how it turns out. And also make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a great day.